So to keep your Act 2 Mercenary alive, all you got to do is get a Fortitude, an Infinity, and an Ethereal Indaryl's Visage with a 40-15 jewel in it. There you'll be dealing a lot of damage, and he'll survive for sure. Yeah, not everybody has absolutely perfect gear that costs several high runes, especially at the very beginning of ladder. Maybe you're starting off single player, maybe you're just hopping into Diablo 2 Resurrected. Well, check this video out today. Even if you don't have any mid runes, I'm giving you some great options of gear to throw on your Act 2 Mercenary, or even some other mercenary options that if your mercenary can't stay alive, try this stuff out. It's going to help a bunch. Now, first up, I'll talk about kind of like the mid-range budget options. This is kind of what everyone says is the go-to for the Act 2 Mercenary, for the helmet and for the armor. It's been pretty tried and true, and it works pretty good, but it does require a set piece that isn't the super rarest, but you never know exactly what you're going to find when you're going to find it. And also, it does take one mid-rune, so you never know when you're going to find or be able to obtain that mid-rune as well. So looking at the armor, of course, and we're just going to go through this super quick because a lot of people already know about this. Treachery on the body armor, increased attack speed, and also it has that fade proc, even though it's made specifically kind of originally designed anyways for an assassin. When you proc fade, it boosts up your resistances a bunch, and actually has a damage reduction property for it as well. So you're attacking faster, meaning you're dealing out more damage, and the more damage you deal out, the more life you'll leech back if you have life leech on your character or on your Act 2 Mercenary. So this is actually both things that can help keep you alive. So when we talk about the leech, the kind of go-to for the helmet is going to be Tal Rasha's Herodric Crest. So this one, obviously having life leech, you make up some resistances there. It has some life, but actually 10 life leech is actually huge on really anything, but here on this sorceress set helmet. So this is obviously kind of the go-tos right here, kind of for the Act 2 Mercenary, if you can get your hands on it. Of course, usually on most characters with the Act 2 Mercenary, you're going to go with the Insight. It's just so incredibly cheap for 260% enhanced damage. Obviously, you want to get as good of a base as possible, get an elite base, because like we mentioned with the attack speed, the higher your damage is, that means the more amount of life leech you'll have, which means you'll survive longer for your Act 2 Mercenary, that is. So really, it almost doesn't matter what Act 2 Mercenary you're going with, if you're going with a melee character, a caster, even if you need the meditation or you don't. Getting an Insight, just because it's so cheap super early, this is kind of the go-to. And for this particular one, even the super mega budget, you're going to be using an Insight too. As for other options, I wouldn't really go with anything really. Insight is just too good. So go ahead and get yourself that one. These are great for the mega budget and low and even the high end game stuff. But what if you can't get this Tal's Mask? There's going to be a few different other options. I'll give one right off the bat here. It's like an if you find it kind of thing. You never know. It might pop off of Andario when you're finding her, or maybe on your playthrough you'll find it. The Steel Skull. So you're getting increased attack speed. You're getting life leech on it as well. So you're two things there that really help you out a bunch. It's not quite the 10 life leech, but it's half as much at 5. So Steel Skull is a great option if you do find it along the way. Now, as for another option right here, this is one of the newer rune words. Yeah, it's only on ladder and also is offline single player, but Bulwark. And this one is probably, it's definitely better than Steel Skull, but in a way, it probably could even be better than the Tal Rasha's Herodric Crest, and it only takes an IO rune. That's like what I consider the upper level of like the low kind of like garbage runes or whatever. So for just really the Shale IO Soul, you've got extra hit recovery on them. That's kind of an underrated one right there, but you get your life leech, there's vitality there, but you also get the physical damage reduced by, and it rolls between 10 and 15. So there's just another thing to go ahead and keep them alive, along with getting the life leech up there on the helmet. So Bulwark is absolutely clutch, and I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I forget / overlook. Don't think about this particular one, but don't sleep on it. Now, if you want even lower budget than that, here's one that I kind of pat myself. Literally, everyone always forgets about it. But like I said, you need that life leech on your mercenary to kind of bring his life back up as he's getting hit. And the helmet spot's a good place to do it. And that is make yourself a crafted blood helm. So it doesn't get a huge amount of life leech. It only rolls between 1 and 3. Unfortunately, if you get the one that's so astronomically low, you do get a little bit of deadly strike, meaning he'll deal out more damage there as well. And it always comes with a tiny bit of life. I think it goes up to 20. So I got a pretty good roll with the max life leech and the max life on that, I believe. But it just takes a Ral rune, any garbage, random, rare or magic jewel, and a perfect ruby, along with the helmet. It's called a helm, a casque, or something else for the higher level one. But you can get these from vendors or go over to gamble them from Geeds or something like that. So real easy to get. A Ral rune is the most expensive piece of this thing, and you get life leech on your mercenary. Any other helmet options, let me know down in the comments, but you're going to pair one of these helmets up with an armor, and what have we not made up on a lot of these things? There really is no resistance on any of these helmets right here. So what are we going to do? We're going to try to figure that out on the armor, and there's actually incredibly easy ways to go ahead and do that. You might recognize some of these armors, but let's go ahead and start off with the easiest one to get, and that is this one right here. It actually is a regular 4-socketed armor, 30 to all resistance. I kind of created my own rune word here that only gives me res. So with Tal, Thul, Ort, and Ral, you actually get 3 of these from the quest in Act 5 where you rescue the barbarians on Mount Ariat, and then you just got to find the other one. So Tal, Thul, Ort, Ral, boom, you have 30 to all res, because each one of these runes gives you 30 to a particular resistance. So that will instantly kind of make up a majority, if not all, of your mercenaries' resistance problems. Another thing you could do with this, don't forget, let's say you don't really care about cold res, because how many cold monsters are there out there that deal cold damage? Maybe you don't care about poison, and you want to give that up, but you don't have enough strength to wear your non-ethereal CV, or really anything that you need extra strength for, perhaps on your mercenary. You can go ahead and just throw a amethyst in there and get 10 extra strength. It doesn't sound like a lot, but your mercenary gets 2 strength per level. So a non-ethereal CV, I think it's level 92 or perhaps 93, I think he might have to be at in order to go ahead and wear a non-ethereal CV if you don't have any strength anywhere. Well, if you go ahead and throw this amethyst in anywhere on an armor piece for your mercenary, that shaves 5 levels off. So I think he only has to be level 87 at that point to go ahead and do that. Now there's other options as we go down a little bit that actually the armor will increase the strength, meaning you can get those high level bases if you get lucky enough to find one on even earlier. And we'll slide over to the next one. This is actually what I'm using right now. It was just a reset a few days ago here for Diablo 2 Resurrected. I'm using this one on my mercenary as we speak. I went ahead and found myself a Griswold's Heart, that's the Grizz armor, and I went ahead and plugged in exactly what you're looking at right here. We have a Tal, Ort, and a Ral rune, and that gives us 30 to lightning, fire, and poison. I decided cold damage. You don't really see that a whole lot in Diablo 2, I suppose. So we went ahead and made up those resistances right here. And on top of that, you see it has 20 to strength. That means 10 levels sooner if you had a non-ethereal CV, or really if the strength requirement on any of them was just a little bit too high, you could stick this on your mercenary and you could wear it way earlier. So your resistances are made up, you're getting strength to be able to wear a higher level elite base, perhaps anyways, for your insight. Griswold armor, another one not to sleep on, and right next to it is probably one if you did find it. Both of these set ones are like if you find them, which they are not particularly super uncommon to find something like this. Over here we have Natalia's Shadow. So this one actually has life based on character level. So you have 85 here. It depends on your character, so mine's 85. And you actually get poison res and poison length reduced inherently on the armor already. So all you have to do is has 3 open sockets, Ort, Ral, Thul, and you get 30 to all of them. That's how we have 25, 30, 30, 30 that you see down there. Once again, you could do the same thing I told you to do on the other one. You could forego the cold, or if you wanted to, and go ahead and throw an amethyst in there and get some strength to get the strength on that mercenary up so you could wear whatever of the things you need to do. This is kind of a choice you need to make based upon what you find along the way. So let's go ahead and try this first setup out here. We do have the Natalias, we have the Bulwark, and this is just a Halberd Insight. This is probably, if you're talking like under what the actual like mid-range of the Treachery and the Taos Mask would be, this would be kind of what I go for. This with this life, the resistance, you even got the poison length reduced right there, and you got an insight. Let's see how this kind of handles. And I just kind of have a generic Nova Sorceress here. We got a Spirit, we got a Lore, but let's say we did find a few things. We found a Mage Fist, we found a Viper Magi, I got a String of Ears down here just because something I found along the way. Just some completely random rings and a random amulet, right? I will mention too, for budget to keep your character alive, your mercenary, even though for this particular one, you kind of want to go prayer with like the Cure Helm and the Insight to kind of have that to help your character out. This cold aura is crucial to keeping your mercenary alive. So it might be a good idea to kind of forego your own survivability. Just kind of pay attention to yourself while you're super budget until you can go ahead and, get better gear and all that kind of stuff to switch over to the prayer one, if that's what you're deciding to do. So we'll come up here and let's just let him go on his own. These guys are immune to cold too. So let's just see how he's going to survive as he's getting hit by arrows. He's completely surrounded. He is starting to lose his health now, but this is nothing to be alarmed about. Like, you could easily just watch this happen, and pull him away with the teleport, even if you're on a non-sorceress, a teleport staff. And that was with me not doing anything, just doing nothing. I was not helping him at all, just letting him face tank them. Now we're in the Chaos Sanctuary again. Here's he's going against a few Venom Lords, and they're blasting him with that fire. But with this setup, wow, his life is really hanging up pretty good right here. It's barely dropping. We got 5 Venom Lords just going crazy on him, and it's barely moving. Wow, this setup is quite literally impressive. And that's just with a mid-level base. If you had an elite base dealing more damage, wow, that is dang impressive. That's the Natalia's armor and a bulwark. Let's take him to another spot where there's even more, maybe different monsters. Here he got some kind of curse, which is obviously going to cause some problems. And yeah, that curse is really gave him an issue right there. So, but yeah, that just kind of shows you if you get curses on you like that and you just sit there and don't even do anything, not really going to turn out great for you, is it? Now, how would this handle somewhere if you're farming an 85 area like, I don't know, the pits? Now, undeads, you do not leech life back from them, so he's just got to go ahead and survive them. Just a couple of them there. That's kind of like light work for him at this point. Here's a nice little thing. We got both the packs, and we got lightning enchant coming off and hitting him. So he's also cold from their cold aura. Yeah, so he's surviving. You should be able to keep him alive at that point. You really shouldn't. And on top of that, I mean, you really should be doing something, right? Whoa, I almost got ripped there. So that kind of shows you he's surviving almost better than I am. Boom, down they go right there. So that's about the best survivability you can really hope for here on budget characters, if I had to say so myself. So here's a nice little pack over here. Let's go ahead and static him, pretend like we're actually like trying here a little bit. But here he is just standing right in the pack. He's not getting chilled out by a cold aura, or he doesn't have a bunch of different auras on him and stuff like that. So you can see his life ticking down. Some of them ran away. I mean, he's holding his own there, fellas. Here he's starting to get beat down a little bit more. You might have to help him out ever so slightly, am I right? But man, for budget gear that, I mean, a lot of people just Charcy, Natalia's armors and stuff like that, I say it's working pretty dang good. Now the next tip up, you might notice it already super early on. Maybe you don't plan on doing it for a long time, but you might need to have your mercenary actually stay away just so they can survive better, so you can keep your insight going. And yeah, you can make insights in bows now. So even if it's not what you really want to go into end game, bows that are 4-socketed are actually can be easier to find than pole arms sometimes. So don't sleep on perhaps trying the Act 1 Mercenary. And usually I'd recommend go with the freezing arrow here. That's kind of what it seems the best to me. And you can kind of go with a lot of the same budget options. This one I'm just went ahead and threw on. Let's just say you could make yourself a treachery. You could go with some of those other options I pointed out as well. We got the bulwark on up here, and we got the insight. You get that meditation order to keep your mana up. That way, if you're a sorceress, especially, you can teleport around. And the Act 1 Mercenary, Devo right here, her AI kind of keeps her running away from the monsters. So if you don't need that tank up there to kind of huddle the monsters around, maybe you just need your mercenary to survive, you could go with this option right here. So let's go ahead and try this one out in the pits. You see she instantly backed up. So if you're, let's say an Energy Shield Nova Sorceress, so you're tele-stomping people and you just want her to try to stay alive right here, those archers are actually immune to lightning. So if you do run the pits with a Nova, you got to make it happen, right? But there we go, bang, bang, boom. And yeah, see how she kind of stays back? She's blasting them with the cold arrow, kind of freezing some of them. So there's another way you can kind of keep your Act 2 Mercenary to keep your meditation aura up and running alive. Don't use an Act 2 Mercenary. Go with the Act 1. You can still get the meditation aura on your insight bow. And I mean, you see that she kind of did all right damage even. Now, when you're talking about running things mega budget, you have to make sacrifices. Perhaps you're running some type of build where you don't necessarily need the mana, depending on what you're doing. Let's say I'm running my enchant bow sorceress, which you only blast away with the normal attack. So and if you're going places you don't need to teleport, maybe you're running Pindle, Eldritch, and stuff like that, you don't really need the insight to go ahead and keep your mana up. But perhaps you need that tank to go ahead and stay alive in the middle, just in order to kind of clump them up so you can blast them away. And then you can go with what we're looking at right here, and that's the Act 5 Mercenary. And you can go with a lot of the same budget options. Like I said, none of it's ever going to be absolutely perfect when you're talking mega budget, but we got the Nat's armor here and the bulwark. And now these swords, I don't have them right here. Editor Phil's going to fly them down, but these are just kind of visual placeholders. Or I'm just going to go over super quick sword options. This is one I generally go with kind of less, but it can still work in certain instances. It might be the best option for, like I said, if you don't need that meditation aura on the insight. Now, it's a sword that's not expensive, but it is very hard to find as a Wrath. It has something very clutch on it for survivability on you and your mercenary, and that's actually the Sanctuary aura. Now, what this does is it pulses out every few seconds, and it knocks back, and it kind of like stuns for a second, all of the undead. So if you're ever going after places like Pindle, you'll go up in there, boom, they'll get knocked and stunned back, and they won't be able to attack you right away, just blowing you up with that charge. So, as a Wrath, like I said, not expensive to trade for, but it is not really that easy to find. Next up is one that it actually takes a mid-rune here for the Act 5 Mercenary, but I just want to give you the options that are kind of the cheaper ones if you want to go this route, if you can get it. And that is actually the Lawbringer rune word. It is kind of the same as Azarath there, that it has that Sanctuary aura that knocks back all of the undead. On top of that, it also does have Life Leech that's going to keep them alive. A few other things. It actually has Decrepify on striking, 20% chance there. Lawbringer, another great option, but it's not quite all the way down to the mega budget that I was kind of talking about for the Act 2 Mercenary, but this is an option. Now, hard to find the 6-socketed sword you need, but there is a newer rune word, actually Unbending Will. The highest thing it takes is a Foul, but it actually has a ton of enhanced damage, a bunch of increased attack speed. It's got a bunch of life leech, so a ton of different things to help your mercenary survive and to deal out more damage. On top of that, it actually has a taunt on striking. So if you want the monsters to kind of clump around your mercenary even more, because that's generally why you'd be using this, to kind of clump them around instead of using the insight on the Act 2 Mercenary, you got that even more there. And I do want to slide in with another option that is a ladder-only rune word, but it's kind of more of helping out like damage-wise, but sometimes you could argue a good offense is the best defense. So I would be remiss, I guess would be the word I want to use, to not mention the rune word Hustle in a body armor. It's got some walk, run, and increased attack speed, so kind of like a good offense is the best defense. But yeah, remember, the faster you attack, if you have life leech on your helmet or weapon, you can leech life back even faster, keeping yourself alive. It does have a small amount of resistance on it as well, just raising that up a little bit. So it is important. This could go for the Act 2 Mercenary as well. It does take a Co-Rune and a Shale and a Neff, but for a 3-socket body armor, Hustle is an option there. But, it doesn't make up the reses as much as on the other ones. The Co is kind of like right at the border of like a mid-rune, I guess. And of course, I was going to mention it earlier, but I didn't have one on hand. But the Smoke rune word is just a Neff and a Lum. A Lum is kind of like lower range mid-rune, or it depends how you want to go ahead and rank them. But you get a huge, massive 52 all resistance here. You do get 75% enhanced defense bonus, so your defense is higher. And you do get a lot of defense. It can actually help you out. A little bit of hit recovery, getting him back to attacking faster, leeching life back faster. So Smoke is another reasonably good option on a mercenary. Let me know that super budget stuff you love using on your mercenary down below. And don't forget to hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe up for future Diablo 2 Resurrected content. Peace out, fellas, and keep slaying.